is Oromo Voice Radio English program. Oromo Voice Radio is broadcasting to Oromia at 16-meter band or 17,850 kilohertz or on oromovoice.org website. OVR broadcasts Oromia Insight program every Monday for 15 minutes at 7:15 p.m. Oromia local time. Welcome to Oromia Insight program.
Welcome to Oromia Insight. My name is Ali Galato. Today I will be discussing about Ethiopian colonial system, state terrorism, the Oromo relation with Ethiopia, and the Obama visit with Professor Hamdessa Tusu. Professor, welcome.
Thank you for inviting me.
The two Ethiopia, the mythical Ethiopia and the real Ethiopia, does the President Obama know the difference? Even is he interested to know?
Yeah, the problem we have, the Oromos have, and many people in Ethiopia have in dealing with Ethiopia is the image of Ethiopia, which have been projected over many years by the Christian Orthodox clergy, by its rulers, by external supporters. The mythical Ethiopia, the attributes of mythical Ethiopia go something like this. Ethiopia is united, Ethiopia is 3,000 years old, Ethiopia is a Christian country, Ethiopia is developed, Ethiopia is democratic. This is a kind of a brief summary of this, the attributes of this mythical Ethiopia. The Ethiopia which never existed. So that is what I'm referring to, the mythical Ethiopia. The real Ethiopia is totally different, which is, it's a colonial system. And the colonial system, most of the Ethiopia is only about less than 100 years old, and is not, majority are not Christians that has been claimed, or Christian Orthodox Christians. Ethiopia has never been democratic. There have never been a successfully democratic election in Ethiopia. And then Ethiopia has majority of the people in Ethiopia, 2/3 of the people are colonial subjects. So that is the real Ethiopia. And the problem has been for the oppressed people in Ethiopia, they have never been able to explain this because of the drama of conflict between the two groups in Ethiopia, the Amharas and the Tigrayans, to project themselves as the true Ethiopians. They seem to control the two ends of the poles in terms of conflict. One is they control one end of the pole is that the victor goes abroad and say, I have conquered this, I have united Ethiopia, you have to support me. The other side goes out and says, I have been victimized by this, you have to support me. So the Ethiopian drama has been played out, controlled, managed, overwhelmed by these two groups. Therefore, the issue of the oppressed people, majority are in the south, 2/3, such as Oromos, such as Somalis, such as Sidamas, Kambatas, Hadiyas, and others, their story had never got out. And then just remember, when European colonials colonized different territories in Africa, at least they wrote the history of each ethnic group. Therefore, during that time, each group has some exposure, like in Kenya, the Kukuyus, the Luos, even the Oromos, Boranas, and so forth. Ethiopia never had a strong history of literacy. There have never been objective analysis, no tradition of scholarship. Therefore, the colonized people remain not only oppressed but hidden. The other aspect of your question is that Ethiopia knows the difference. It's not only that Obama knows, President Obama knows the difference, and I don't think he knows the difference because nobody has ever explained to him. And the people who advises him are people like Susan Rice, who are supporters of Mallas Zenawi. Then people like Gary Smith were people who promoted Mallas in TPLF. Therefore, he had no access to other people who know about Ethiopia. He had no access to Somalis, to Oromos, to Sidamas. So I don't think he knows. The other aspect of it is that he cares about the difference. I don't think he cares about the difference. The reason is this business about the Western powers. They have some fear about something against their interest. They kind of close their minds in their support a particular group who promises them to protect their interest. This happened during the Cold War. In Iran, for example, they supported the Shah. There were a lot of problems in there, but they didn't want to listen. They just want to support the Shah. In Ethiopia, they supported Emperor Selassie. They didn't want to listen to anybody else. Therefore, Obama does not have even a chance to know, but I don't think he even cares. Now, I am very much upset and disturbed and disappointed by his visit to Finfinne, Addis Ababa, and then his speech saying that Ethiopia has democracy, the 100% democracy elected. This is like selling your birthright for a cup of tea in a loaf of bread. It is very unfortunate. I never thought Obama would do this, but he did it.
So Ethiopia as an independent colonial state, who have been the Ethiopia Deus Ex Machina in 16th century, 19th century, early 20th century, during the Cold War, during the post-Cold War era?
Yeah, let's go to this concept of Deus Ex Machina. It comes from Greek mythology. The mythology, it goes like this: that somebody's in trouble, big trouble, then some machine comes all of a sudden, saves the person from the trouble. So this got into literature. So what I mean is the Ethiopia Deus Ex Machina is this Christian kingdom had a problem with its neighbors. During the 16th century, it was attacked by jihadist Islamists from the east, and almost destroyed. That force almost destroyed the kingdom. The Portuguese, 16th century, the superpower of 16th century, followed by Spain later on, they sent an army to save the kingdom, which they did. And then as a result of the wounds they inflicted on each other, the Christian kingdom and the Islamists, then they kind of became weak. That's why the Oromos emerged to express themselves, to show their presence. So during that time, it is the Portuguese that saved the kingdom from utter almost destruction. We come to 19th century or early 20th century, history will tell us that in 1935, Italy occupied Ethiopia. Now, during this period, Italy, Great Britain, France had colonies in the Horn of Africa. The British had Sudan, Kenya, Somalia, Tanzania, in northern Somalia, Uganda, in East Africa. So they were afraid of Italian expansion. In addition, the fascist Italy was in conflict with other European powers at that time. Therefore, they gave asylum. The British gave asylum to Emperor Selassie to stay in Britain for 5 years. And then they actually sent their own military in to kick out the Italians. Then eventually they put Emperor Selassie back. So Ethiopia, which was occupied by Italy, and also during Italian occupation, there were other forces internal with the emerging such as Oromos. The Italians gave more power, more benefits to the Oromos by language, education. They gave them their land, gave them back their land. When the British restored Emperor Selassie, took him back, the Amaras came back, his regime came back, took away the land from the south, and then imposed Amharic language as a national language. And so the British by that time saved the Ethiopia from collapsing. During the Cold War, the rivalry between the Soviet Union and the U.S., Ethiopia was saved by the U.S., supported by the U.S., by the British. Uyanis, the Tigray in the 1940s, fought against Emperor Selassie. Very strong show of power. It was the British who went and bombed them. And then as Americans came in, they gave weapons, they gave money to Emperor Selassie. So the Somalis in the Ogaden, the Oromos in Bali, many other people fought against Haile Selassie, but they were crushed because of this overwhelming power which was provided to him by the American government. And then during the military government, the Derg, 1974 to 1991, Ethiopia became the client of the Soviet Union. During this time, there were 6 nationality movements against the empire. The Tigray Liberation Front, which was created in 1975, the Eritrean People's Liberation Front, which was created in the 1960s, the Oromo Liberation Front, created in 1974, the Somali Liberation Front, Sudan Liberation Front, all of these were fighting together over the Amhara rule. But it was the Soviet Union and the Cubans who actually, not only weapons, they gave technical support, they gave their forces, their military, to go there and help the empire to stay together. When the Emperor Selassie was ousted in 1974, the empire almost collapsed. It was the Soviet Union that saved it. Now, all of a sudden then, in 1991, military government, that collapses. And there was London Peace Conference hosted, convened by the American government. I was one of the people invited to attend. And then the Americans at that time did not know much complex issues because they have been away from Ethiopia for almost 2 decades, almost 2 decades. And then at that time they thought that they did not need Ethiopia for its strategic reasons. At that time, the issue of Islamist forces have not emerged, so there was lukewarm attitude toward Ethiopia. However, as the military collapsed in Addis Ababa, then the TPLF wanted to enter, and then the American government endorsed it. Once endorsed it, it got heavily involved, armed it, gave them weapons. In many ways, the Oromo Liberation Front was invited to participate in the new government, transitional government. The idea was the transitional government should govern for 2 years and then convene or organize society for democratic elections. But the TPLF, the Tigray Liberation Front, outmaneuvered everybody else, and then they kicked out the OLF. And the American government, the Westerners, looked the other side. And then Eritrea became independent, but always the Westerners favored Ethiopia vis-a-vis Eritrea. While this was happening, we have got the rise of Al-Qaeda all of a sudden. And then it is affiliate, Al-Shabaab emerges.
Yeah, that is lead to my third question. Ethiopia is a staunch ally against terrorism. What is the role of TPLF in creating the environment for the rise of Al-Shabaab?
Yes, and let me just finish this thought, and then I come back to that. So, because of this, all of a sudden, you have got this incredibly frantic attitude, fear of Islamists. Therefore, they look at the other's way about human rights, about oppressive system. And then so they kind of, they become captive to their own imagination. They don't talk to other people, they don't other view, so they look for somebody who will keep their interest. The TPLF has been very successful in presenting itself as a reliable source in fighting against Islamist terrorism. Therefore, this is the connection, this is where the support comes. This is what is keeping the Tigrayan government regime in power. This is the only reason. The U.S. is not the only one. It is the British, it was the French in the Western. There's also another issue that has been addressed, not been addressed by many people in Ethiopia. That is the role of the African Union. The fact that the African Union had its headquarters in Addis Ababa, therefore you cannot go there and protest, you cannot go and lobby because the government will kill you or imprison you. Therefore, what you have is a kind of de facto supporting system from the African Union. Now, what is the role of the current government in Ethiopia in creating Al-Shabaab? First of all,
this interview will continue next week.